Are you feeling drained by people, by tasks, and sometimes even your own thoughts? You're not alone. Let's talk about this. And we're going to talk about how you generate energy, not just how you protect it. One of the misconceptions that people often have about energy is that it's something that you have in a bucket. You can wake up feeling like you have no energy, and by the middle of the day feel like you have an amazing amount of energy. Or alternatively, you can feel like you have a lot of energy to wake up and then later on have nothing. So the idea of having this bucket or bank account in which you carry energy and you need to manage that amount is erroneous. And it leads people, especially people who deal with burnout, with many challenges. So think about it like this. There's this little boy, and he is engaged in playing video games, and he is spending hours with intense focus and solving problems for hours and hours on end. At the end of that session, he's energized. And then we give him his homework. His homework is about focusing and solving problems. And within half an hour, he has got no energy left, right? The idea that we're talking about here is the idea of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation or energy. There are certain activities, regardless of the amount of energy it requires, that brings energy. And then there are other activities that drains energy. So when we look at it from this perspective that we need to guard our own energy, it's not completely incorrect, but it's not the whole picture. Because what we're not looking at is the idea that you generate energy. And there's ways in which you can generate poor quality of energy, right? A lot like when you think about your nutrition. You can consume low quality nutrition like fast foods, and it will excite you for the moment. It might even fill that gap, but it comes with a lot of downside. In the same way as when we look at our energy, there's certain activities that we can get engaged in, and if we're engaged in those activities, we generate energy, good quality energy, right? And then there are other things. When we get involved in those, we lose energy. It drains us. So many people have this idea of cutting out energy draining activities. When we talk about boundaries, there's a more functional way of looking at it. Often people that I talk to speak about setting up boundaries in a way that cuts things out. In the same way as when you look at your diet and you go, there's all these things I should not be eating. And as long as you focus on what you're not supposed to be doing, then it feels like you're losing out and that you are making your life smaller and smaller. What if you approached it from the other point of view and you went, what happens if you look at all the experiences that give you a positive result and you start scheduling more of that, so that you start crowding out the stuff that drains energy and you add in the stuff that causes you to feel inspired? What if we said that your body was actually trying to help you? When you experience this burnout, what is happening is that you are spending more time in the realms of losing energy than what you're spending in the realms of gaining energy. And so what your body is telling you is that you're moving towards where you don't want to go, or that you're driving further and further away from that which serves you. Now, of course, there are deeper issues here. People who carry the labels of being people pleasers and not being able to manage their boundaries, some of those are conflicts in values and they have some really deep structural misalignments. And so for those people, it makes sense to see a therapist or a life coach who can help you work through those concerns. But for the purposes of today's conversation, we're just really working with the premise that when you fill your life with experiences that are more inspiring and empowering, you are going to have a more inspiring life, as opposed to focusing on what you should cut out. So I would suggest looking at those big areas, and you can start with things like health, relationships, family, career, and so forth. And notice the areas and the activities that are draining, and then start focusing on how do we grow the stuff that we find inspiring and empowering. So at a practical level, if we look at these experiences that gain or drain energy, then we can also look at the activities that traditionally generate energy. We can talk about sleep. And sleep is quite clear. We get about 6 to 9 hours of sleep every night. And I'm saying 6 to 9 hours because sleep is very personal. There's a lot that goes into what good sleep is. But the first thing is check the box that we've got 6 to 9 hours. The next thing that we need to look at is movement. Something to be clear here is that movement is very personal. For one person, they had to go to gym. That would actually be something that adds to the draining of energy, because they'll have that feeling of it's something that I have to do, and they'll push themselves through the gym routine and get away from that and maybe feel a little bit proud for having concluded that. But ultimately, they don't feel it as an energizing impact. For another person, gym might be a great solution. And also the same things like Tai Chi and yoga, whatever your activity is, doesn't matter. The question is, when you come back from that activity, what do you feel like? And then there is stillness. And stillness does not have to be still. It's just when you are in a meditative state. That could be meditation while playing a musical instrument. That could be reading. For some people, that's writing or journaling. And some of them, when you feel into that, you go like, hey, the idea of meditation just doesn't gel for me. Or if I think about playing a musical instrument, it makes the hair on my neck stand on end. So that's not a good choice for you. But it is important to notice what the things are that bring you into alignment. And those are the low-hanging fruits. Ultimately, what we want to do is to make sure the gift that you give to humanity is aligned in the same way. Imagine the kind of life that you would have if everything you did at work or even in your spare time, all of it was aligned in such a way that it all contributed to living an inspired life. So I invite you to drop a note below. Let me know what inspires you, or maybe what you have a challenge with. If you found this useful in any way, then hit the like and subscribe button and get ready for video number 5, which is the last video in the series, where we start to bring it all together so that we can end overthinking once and for all. All right, looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Are you feeling drained by people, by